Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the show we actually don't have a name for yet because we're still debating it. But Adrian's
Oh,
here. I'm here. You all know me by now. I've been on every show we've done on this network since day one. There's no way you don't know me. My name is Jake. We're here to talk about football. That's what we do best. That's all we know. So, Adrian,
we
what are
two
your
in the
first
books.
for now, it's not in the books quite yet. We're going to talk about a
Uh,
little bit of week 2, and it's only still preseason. However,
yeah.
what stood out the most to you from this weekend?
Oh, what stood out the most? Honestly, there hasn't been as big storylines. I feel like the Andy Dalton situation with Justin Fields still up in there. Really, I think they've already said, "Hey, Dalton's going to be a starter week 1," so that's not
That
any
that came
surprise.
out today. Matt Nagy
Yep.
announced it today. So
And then looking on it, Zach Wilson looked decent again. It's hard to say, but Zach Wilson did look pretty decent again. And then Trey Lance had a really good rebound week coming in the second week. I think, obviously some of it is, watching the game, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of passes. There's a few passes that's really getting dropped, and you're like, these guys should be catching these, but totally get it. Still preseason. Everybody's still getting used to everything. So, but overall, I think the biggest surprise for me was how well, after a horrendous week they had last week, the Saints and Jameis Winston looked this week. Good Lord. I mean, that's
now
the
let's
most
let's uh
accurate I've seen Jameis Winston.
let's take this and let's break this down real quick. Is that because he actually looked? And sorry, I'm moving everything around because we had a last minute technical difficulty, so I had to
Change.
completely change everything on my system. So I'm setting it up so I can run everything at the same time here, guys. But is that because that Monday night game between the Jaguars and the Saints is the freshest thing in your mind? Or is it because Jameis Winston was actually that good in this game?
I always think it's a little bit of both. Look, the Jaguars are not the best team. They still lack talent on both sides of the ball. But, Jameis has been learning under Drew Brees and has Sean Payton. So Sean Payton can hide some of his flaws, right? Game plan wise.
And now before I get into Winston, because I have a lot to say about that game with Jameis Winston, but let's talk about the Jaguars first. Boy, do they look like a college
Mm-hmm.
level team.
I mean, you have a college level coach, right? I mean, I know he has the resume from college, right? Florida, Ohio State. But at the same time, he's still adapting to the NFL. And, you see a lot of these things happening. Plus, they do lack talent, and it's a complete rebuild. So it's going to take a while. I just don't know if the owner has patience for it.
See, I think Shad Khan is going to give Urban, no matter what, at least 3 years. Because when you're making that transition,
Uh,
you absolutely need time to instill a new culture from college to the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have a lot of younger guys. They've stocked up draft picks, and they've gotten rid of a lot of their key players over the last 4 years when they last made the playoffs, and 4 or 5 years now, which is crazy to think. But at the same time, you're looking at a team that's gonna go through ups and downs. And you see how the struggles that Trevor Lawrence has, and he's been looking average, I want to say. But when your O line is literally as porous as there are, I saw so many times this past game where they're just getting free shots at him. So it's going to be hard to be good when you don't have time.
Is Trevor Lawrence going to be the next Joe Burrow?
If they have to throw the ball more than 30 times, he's going to get hurt this year. I guarantee it. That's just too many times for him to be throwing the ball on a bad offensive line.
And now, I don't know, did you watch that first, like the first 2 drives of that Monday night game?
Some of it, I got to see a good amount of it, and it's hard for me to sit through preseason just because a lot of it's scripted. Now
That's the
watch
time you're
like
supposed
typically
to.
the first.
It was the ones versus the ones.
No,
it was the first 2 drives.
I know. So I will. What I will watch is typically the first half of preseason games. Now the first 2 drives was just. I was just looking at him. I'm like, good Lord, he's not getting those reads. He's not getting the timing right, and obviously the offense is going to be new, and we still don't know, is this the offense that Urban Meyer's going to run during the season, or is this like just the vanilla offense they want to show because they don't want to show their playbook yet?
My issue with this, and by the way, Adrian, I think you're lagging a little, not lagging, but you're a little behind. So when I'm talking, you're like probably a 7-second delay on that, just so we're aware and on the same page of that. However,
Yep.
I was watching Trevor Lawrence, and he's taking almost a 9-step drop. I started counting because I saw he's going deep. There's no reason he's putting himself in that situation to drop that far back.
No, absolutely not. A 7, a most 3-5 step drop. You don't have the offensive line to take a 7 or 9 step drop. I think for him or for Urban, he needs to game plan. Let's get him in rhythm. 3-step drop, quick passes, short passes. And then once he's comfortable in there, then you can take these 7, 9 steps drop. But you got to mix it up.
At one point, I said to myself, maybe Urban Meyer should put Trevor Lawrence in for the final 2 drives of the 4th quarter just to build a little confidence.
I just lost you for like the 10 seconds. I'm gonna drop, and then I'm gonna see you in a second.
Sounds good. Brandon, I see you there. I am wearing, it's actually a WWE crew shirt from back when I worked the show when they were in Worcester, Massachusetts. And Martin, with Winston learning under Breeze, his game has to be improved. If he's not starting week 1, I would really be surprised. I totally get why you would think Winston should be week 1 starter, but at the same time, we don't actually know what we're going to get or what we can get out of Taysom Hill, which is why I believe Sean Payton hasn't made that decision yet. Now, Adrian, how are you on sound? Can you hear me? Are you good? Or?
Oh my God, it's worse.
As you can see, guys, we're having some technical difficulties tonight. It happens. Welcome to I should probably pull Martin's coming down now.
Hold on.
Welcome to the world of the internet. So I'm gonna just ramble about football while we wait on Adrian. We have a lot of Brandon, Saints should have brought back Teddy. Now, Brendan, let's hear your honest opinion on why the Saints should have brought back Teddy when they already had Winston and Taysom Hill. Almost seems like a waste of money right there. Now, speaking of Teddy Bridgewater, and I'm completely diverging from the plan because we're having technical difficulties. Teddy Bridgewater has, in my eyes, won the starting job in Denver. There's absolutely no reason and no point for Drew Lock to take that starting job. Teddy Bridgewater has had a phenomenal camp, a phenomenal 2 games as the quarterback, and he has proven he can lead the Denver Broncos, which are playoff ready, to at least something halfway decent. And let's see if we can get Adrian back here. And it looks like All right, Adrian, how are you? Can you hear me? How are we doing?
I I don't know what's going on. This is crap. Okay. I, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, this is so much clearer.
And there's no delay. And there's no
Yes,
delay.
freaking A. Good Lord.
All right, so
I
while you were gone, we had Brandon say that the Saints should have brought Teddy Bridgewater. I said doesn't make much sense. Would have been a waste of money with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston already on the roster. He just responded why. So just catching up, he said, "Was Teddy not 6-0 or 7-0 filling in for Breeze?" Okay, and Adrian, correct me if I'm wrong right here, but you're talking about a team that was so strapped for cash that they had to release half the fucking defense.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the money to bring back Teddy Bridgewater, not with that contract he has. You know how much they're paying, Jameis and Taysom Hill already? You want to, if they brought back Teddy Bridgewater, they would have had the most expensive QB room in the league. And
The Denver Broncos signed Teddy Bridgewater to a 1-year, $11.4 million contract.
I mean, there's
There was
no
no way the
way.
Saints could afford that.
No. And you look at the roster between the Denver Broncos and the Saints that Drew Brees was leaving, completely different. You have a ton of weapons in Denver with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Noah Fant. I mean, why would you turn that down?
That
Plus,
team is playoff ready.
you have a better shot of, being a starter with Drew Lock there. Oh, how bad the season he had. Granted, he did look good last week.
But I diverted from what we had talked about. We're going to talk about because, the technical difficulties forced me into, rambling by myself. So we went with this route. The thing is, Teddy Bridgewater has looked like a bona fide stud this this entire beginning of the preseason. He's looked phenomenal.
Yeah, he's been efficient. He's gotten, a pretty good hold of the offense pretty quickly, which is great. And, as you know, Drew Lock can show you he's great some days, but he can also show you he can be garbage some days. So,
Martin
having
says
that
there's
insurance
no
policy.
way. Martin says there's no way Teddy Bridgewater is going to lose that starting job. Drew Lock is 100% not the answer, and they need to move on from him. Now, is Drew Lock the answer for any team?
Not with how inconsistent he plays. I think he ends up being a career backup. Does he have talent? Absolutely. He has a cannon for an arm. He can make some plays down the field that Teddy Bridgewater can't, but he doesn't do it consistently enough. And the mistakes are still there for him. The interception, the sacks, the untimely sacks that he takes. So,
Who would you rather have as a quarterback on your? Let's say we're expanding the league. Would you rather have Drew Lock or Gardner Minshew?
honestly, I'd take Garner. He showed at least last year he could be consistent. You look at his numbers; it's on par with Baker Mayfield's numbers. So, he also has a higher completion rating than um, Drew Lock. And also at the same time, I think Gardner Minshew is a gamer. Like, I know he's not the most talented QB, but he is highly competitive and he's fun to watch. He's a fun character in the league.
Brendan says Locke will start in the Rocks SFL League or it's definitely coming back. It's when it comes back, 2023, I believe. So let's get back to the Jacksonville Jaguars conversation now that we completely diverted into the Denver Broncos. Is Urban Meyer NFL ready? Are we judging him far too soon off of just the preseason and it's not fair to him? Or are we judging him justly on what we've seen so far because it looks like that team's a fucking mess?
Look, he's inheriting a mess. Let's just be honest. He's inheriting a mess. So it's really hard for us to get a good judgment on him based on these two preseason games. There's starters not playing. There's, obviously the offense still going to be a question mark. And, at the same time, when things get competitive, I want to see how he makes adjustments and so forth with his starters on the field, right? and I want to see how he makes adjustments, how he game plans week to week. And then I think, by week 4, we can get a good gauge of how he is going to be as a head coach.
So that leads us into the second first-round pick that the Jaguars had, which doesn't do well for Urban Meyer, for the guy that nobody should have expected the Jaguars, of all people, to take. If I'm Jacksonville, I'm always going defense because for some reason they can develop defense. How many guys have come out of Jacksonville on the offensive side of the ball and been good somewhere else?
I mean, Allen Robinson's probably the last person.
And you can make an argument for Leonard Fournette. You can. But let's see some consistency and not just 4 games through the playoffs. Just saying.
Well, let's be honest. That Bucks team is loaded as it is. They don't really. Do they need him? No. I mean, they have a top 3 or 3 receivers that could, break a game any day. Literally, any of those receivers can go over 100 yards with 2 touchdowns any game. But with Jacksonville, it's with Travis Etienne's injury. Look, I think they reach on him. Honestly, granted, they wanted to give Lawrence a familiar face, but they already had James Robinson, who had a great year last year.
They could have easily gotten Ramondre Stevenson, but they chose a first-round running back when they needed an offensive lineman. And real quick, Brandon says, I'm jealous of Urban Meyer because I didn't get a call to be on the coaching staff. Yeah, actually, I am. He was hiring anybody off the damn street. He could have called me.
I mean, hell, he took Tebow off the street.
Literally. But I can't get a call. Come on, Urban Meyer. What are you thinking?
Well, sucks. At the end of the day, I think, didn't he have a coach already resign because of some crazy allegations against him?
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. No, so that didn't cross my mind because so many coaches right now aren't going into the season because of the COVID stuff. Because of the coaching staff, you have to be absolutely vaccinated. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you don't get a job. End of story. Jay tunes in. Adrian's smile is contagious. I feel like I should be a little offended by this, actually. He never said that about me, and I've been working with the guy forever.
That's funny.
So that's the extent of our Jaguars talk for the day. Because we are now 20 minutes in.
There's nothing else you can say about the Jaguars.
No.
Other than the fact
CJ Henderson probably won't be on the team past the last cut day. He's probably getting traded. That's another first round cornerback that they just can't handle and keep because the Jaguars are the best team in the league at developing defensive players, but they are the worst team in the league at keeping them.
Well, honestly, Jacksonville, you have a great location. It's in Florida. The weather's nice all the time. I don't know why you can't do it. The last great player besides Allen Robinson and you can make the case for the last person to stay at the Jaguars long term was Maurice Jones-Drew. That was a
Miles Jack.
Pro Bowl. Miles Jack.
He's still there.
He's still there, but he's one of the few.
No.
They got Calais Campbell from Cardinals. He was a stellar defensive lineman and they ended up cutting him due to I think cut or trade him due to cap hits because they were overpaying everybody from that defense that got them to the playoffs.
AJ Bouye, Calais Campbell, Malik Jackson was on that defense, and then you had Jalen Ramsey, not Rodney, the other Harrison. No, I think it was Rodney Harrison, just not the Patriots Rodney Harrison.
No, they had talent on that defense, and unfortunately, they said, okay, this is too much money to pay these guys, and we're going to get rid of it. Granted, I think some of those guys wanted out. So there's got to be something else going, culturally with the Jaguars that they have
Well,
to fix?
there was 100% Tom Coughlin. The players hated Tom Coughlin. In
Absolutely.
Jacksonville. He was loved in New York, hated in Jacksonville, and everybody wanted out because of Tom Coughlin. Now, Jay says, do the Jaguars have another top 5 pick in the draft this year?
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
look, as good as Trevor Lawrence is prospect wise, everything around him is not it's it's not anywhere close to what he had around Clemson as far as talent wise, compared to the rest of the league. And it's a rebuild that I think is going to take at least 2 years. Now, is he going to be able to put up numbers? Probably, but I think you're going to see a lot of mistakes as well from him this year.
So, and if you haven't been following the cap room, I'll fill you in. The Jacksonville Jaguars still have the most money in the league to spend. So I just pulled up real quick the list of 2022 NFL free agents. So now I'm going to name all the guys I think they will realistically probably go after. Brandon Scherf, guard from Washington. If he doesn't get franchise tag, I expect him to be franchise tagged.
I expect him to be franchise tagged as well.
Dante Fowler Jr. is hitting the market again. He's a former Jaguar, and I know Urban Meyer really likes him. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes back.
I want to see, honestly, want to see what they do offensive line wise. You got to protect your number one investment right now.
So if we're talking about just offensive linemen, let's see who's there. Offensive line update. So we have Sheriff, Cam Robinson, who plays for Jacksonville now. He got franchise tag. They should probably just get a long-term deal. Teron Armstead over in New Orleans. Dwayne Brown, who's at 37 years old. He's not going to help much. Ryan Jensen, Matt Paradise, Trenton Brown, Jason Kelsey, Eric Fisher, Riley Reef again, and everybody else on this list is not worth. Maybe Try Turner, Ted Karras, but he's never going to leave New England.
Right. Teron Armstead would be a good get. Maybe they can move Cam Robinson over to the other side and put Teron Armstead left, or they can keep him as is. I think he can play both tackle positions. He's done a great job protecting Drew Brees, for the longest time. But I think they need to get one or two veterans for the offensive line and kind of build the trenches through the draft again. And again, take an offensive lineman instead of a running back. Granted, the receiving core also needs a little bit of help.
I had another thing pop in my head real quick. Let's see if I am right. Okay. The Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, I have no idea what the hell this says. That was a weird website. Now it doesn't want to load. I believe they might have 2 first-round picks again next year.
Yeah, but if they do, I mean, let's see who owns those first-round picks.
No, it looks like they only have one. Oh, shit, that's Arizona. What the?
Yep, they have one. They have a conditional pick from a third-round pick from the Vikings, a conditional fourth round from the Vikings, fifth round from the Vikings, the Steelers' sixth round for the Joe Sherbert trade.
Yep.
And
those Vikings picks the Vikings picks are going to be the Yannick Ngakoue trade.
Yep. And that, I think, is going to be the big key. If those convert, pick would not. So the third round pick would not transfer because was not what's his name was not a first ballot Pro Bowl selection, and the Vikings have not won a Super Bowl. So all these conditional picks, I think they only get the fifth round from the Vikings based on that.
Jay says the Jags take one more year and try a playoff run next season. I think there's too much wrong with that team for a playoff run in 2022. Maybe
Yeah,
2023.
yeah, yeah. They still have a long way to go. They're one of the teams that have between them and the Jets. They have a long way to go. I think the Jets have better coaching, honestly. At least these guys are coming from the NFL level, from good coaching trees. But obviously, we'll see. We already saw the Cliff Kingsbury, you know, experiment in Arizona has mixed results. I mean, he's great for Kyler Murray to get acquainted in the league, but is he a NFL head coach? I don't think so.
All right, so now let's finally move away from the Jaguars. Guys, I know
I
I'm
think
wearing a
this is the
Jaguars
most
hat.
the Jaguars got covered so
Listen,
far.
I know I'm wearing a Jaguars hat, guys, but I just collect football hats. I'm not actually a fan. I don't want to talk about that for 26 minutes every episode. So let's move back over to the Jameis Winston New Orleans Saints situation. And this does have to do with the Jaguars, but we're going to veer away from talking about the Jaguars. Jameis Winston absolutely annihilated the number ones on the Jaguars defense.
He sure did.
He was dropping that ball into buckets. And Marquez Callaway, let's not forget about him. Marquez Callaway made two of the most phenomenal catches we are going to see in 2021.
Oh, absolutely. And I think without a Mike Thomas, without any viable receiving core, somebody's gonna have to step up, and apparently he seems to be the one with the most talent.
Jameis Winston won the starting job this week. It's that simple. That's all I got. Do you have anything else you want to add to this?
I mean, let's be honest. He probably did win that starting job. Now, is Taysom Hill still going to see some packages? Sean Payton likes to run Taysom Hill out there. And so he still see packages. But as far as throwing the ball talent and pure passing talent, Jameis Winston's still ahead of Taysom Hill.
Let's move into that weird airborne disease that's destroying the world. And let's talk about Cam Newton. Cam Newton set to miss 5 days due to a misunderstanding of COVID protocols when he went to a doctor outside of New England. So how is it stupid? Absolutely stupid. How do you not understand these rules? Whatever they may be. I don't know what the exact wording is. I haven't looked into it, but how do you not understand as an NFL player what the rules are for the company that you work for? That's a whole different story. But how does this situation now affect the New England quarterback battle? Adrian, let's hear your thoughts.
I mean, I feel like Bill's gonna stick with him. What they don't want to do is rush Mac Jones. I know he's probably the most pro ready as far as just pocket passing and IQ. But at that same time, they don't want to put Mac Jones in that situation. They want to bring him in a comfortable situation where he has a good grasp of the offense. Let's be honest, this is only training camp and preseason. He's going to look good against some 2s and 3s. But as far as starters and being able to play a full game and where defensive coordinators are adjusting to you, it's going to be different. He's going to make mistakes.
Jay says, bad signal on the ... the place that I am at. The train. We all know he's on the train. Choo-choos in the chat, everybody. Choo-choos in the chat. Going back to Ringside Roundup for you boys. Ringside Roundup will be live sometime this week. We all want to get together because of the big weekend that was in the wrestling world. We didn't want to give you a half-ass show, so we will be back at some point this week, once we can all get together, probably tomorrow night, hint, hint. Back to the New England quarterback battle. So you have to assume now that the Patriots are going to start Mac Jones in their last preseason game. You have to assume he's probably going to play the entire first half. It's beautiful. It's going to give us a good look at Mac Jones against the number ones. I believe it's the Giants of the Giants. So we'll be able to get a grip on how really pro-ready he is.
And look, the Giants, okay. I'm curious to see how many of the number ones the Giants play on defense, being that it's the third preseason week with the last preseason week, and you got, start of the season coming up. So I'll pay close attention to that this week and really see who he's playing against, because if he's still playing against 2s and 3s, he's going to look pretty darn good. And the way, New England plays offensively, as long as his timings and reads are correct, he's gonna be fine. And as long as he gets the ball out on time, he is gonna be fine.
Martin says, I'm saying this now. The QB contest just opened up for Mac Jones. If Jones can look great in the joint practice and the game against the Giants, it would not surprise me if Jones starts week 1, although I would still start Newton. I don't start Mac Jones under any circumstance. I was talking to my buddy earlier today, Heath, and his exact words, and I couldn't agree more, was it's so much easier to move away from a veteran quarterback than it is to go back to a veteran quarterback. Look at the Miami Dolphins and Ryan Fitzpatrick last year.
I mean, that was a QB carousel, just to be honest. That was just, Tua would get pulled middle of the game because of his inadequate knowledge of the offense and, how bad he looked.
It was terrible.
But look, if you're Mac Jones, you realize you have Cam Newton in front of you. Cam Newton's also been injured a few times. He hasn't played 16 games, right? His style of play opens him up to getting hurt. So I think Mac Jones eventually will start this year. I mean, I don't think that's a question, but it's a matter of whether it's due to injury or whether he just outperforms Cam in practices and everything. So we'll see.
To be fair, Cam Newton would have played in all 16 games last year if he did not get COVID-19. He would have.
Damn. Yeah, he would have. And you know what? Prior to COVID, he looked really good. He did look really good. Remember that Seahawks game? One of the better games he's had. And they were knocking on the door against that Seahawks team when Russell Wilson was literally on fire the first 6-7 games of the season.
Russ was cooking. Pete Carroll didn't want Russ to cook. They almost ended in an ugly divorce because of it. Let's keep on the topic of COVID protocols. Cole Beasley just got to light a fire against the NFL. Now, Adrian, have you looked into this situation at all?
I mean, I've heard the stories with Cole Beasley just not wanting to get vaccinated, which, look, at the end of the day, for me, it's whatever you choose. But at the same time, you're in the NFL, right?
So do you know he's away from the team for 5 days right now?
Yep, I do. I saw that him and a couple other players.
Gabriel Davis, and somebody else. The reason they're away from the NFL or the team right now is because the trainer tested positive for COVID-19 after he got vaccinated. He is a vaccinated member of the staff, and Cole Beasley has tested negative. The NFL just gave Cole Beasley more ammo to not get vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, the protocols for vaccinated players and non-vaccinated players in the NFL are so drastically different. Me personally, if I was an NFL player, I'd say, screw it. I'm going to get vaccinated because I don't have to deal with all the testing and protocols that the non-vaccinated people have.
Wrong. They do now. The NFLPA changed it all last week. So now, whether you're vaccinated or not, you're going through everything the same.
Well, in that case, it's just going to be a pain in the ass for anybody. So, Cole Beasley, best of luck to you. I think, the Bills love him and he will be there. But at the same time, it's, you're going against the grain with the NFL. And obviously going against the grain in the NFL with Roger Goodell there is never a good idea.
Those are some weird pictures for a hotel. I just happened to notice them behind me. All right, let's move on. We already talked about Andy Dalton being the starting quarterback in Chicago. We both expected it. Nothing different. We fully expected it.
I
So,
mean, do I think that's the best answer for Nagy, who's really on the hot seat? Like on a level of scale to 1 fire to 5, he's probably on the 5 scale.
I
So
fully agree, man. I could not agree with that more.
look, he went to a pretty offensively talented Cowboys team last year, and he wasn't able to do as much. Look, at the end of the day, Dalton's a game manager and a holdover QB. He's not gonna get you to that next level, which is what Chicago needs for Nagy to keep his job.
So, Brendan asks a very good question. Will we see a game be forfeited due to COVID? Now, for those of you that don't know, the NFL instituted a new rule this year where if you can't field a team, rather than the Denver Broncos having a wide receiver play quarterback and be absolutely terrible, you will forfeit the game instead. So, Adrian, do you think we see that this year?
I mean, it's hard to say. Some of these players, obviously, they're just living life as is and, doing whatever they want. Obviously, Dwayne Haskins going to the club last year, probably not a smart idea when people have cameras. Um, it's hard to say with getting a forfeit. I get that's the rule in place, but there always have enough backups and practice squad players to kind of fill in if they need to. So, I think we'll see some weird things like, a former QB wide receiver playing quarterback, or, if a whole wide receiver room goes down, it's going to be a bunch of tight ends and running backs play, or maybe even a corner.
That might help some teams. Heath jumps in for the first time. Welcome, Heath. Nice to see you. Glad you could actually say something. I seen that the Players Association was going to push for testing for everyone. I didn't see it go through. I do believe Tom Pelissero did say it did go through, though. I could be wrong. That was a couple of days ago. But I wanted to lead into a conversation which Brandon just brought on, where I'm going. He says the bigger hot seat, Mike Zimmer for the Vikings or Matt Nagy for the Bears. But I want to go into the coaches with the hot seat in general, because I think there's 4 big names. Zimmer's the last one. I doubt he's losing his job this year, no matter what. But it's Matt Nagy, Mike McCarthy, and Zach Taylor are my 3 biggest.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd probably throw Gruden out there, but I know Mark Davis loves Gruden, so that's hard to say. Any other? I think Cliff Kingsbury's lukewarm hot seat.
I think he's going to make it through this year no matter what.
Yeah, I think he makes it through this year. Kind of looking at all the other coaches that could potentially have a coaching change, and there's not really a whole lot. Nagy's probably the hottest out of all of them. Joe Judge showed improvement last year, so he's not even close in the hot seat. The Texans just got a new coach, so I'm looking at basically any garbage team that has a coach. So, but yeah,
I would not be surprised if Dave Caldwell gets fired. I don't think he's on the hot seat because of the situation he walked into, but because of the situation he walked into, I would not be surprised if he got fired.
Look, at the end of the day, they need a scapegoat at some point, right?
Yeah, he's going to be whenever they need the scapegoat, he is the scapegoat, and they're going to bring in somebody like Brian DeBall or Eric Bettany. But there's 2 names that I also think could surprise people and get fired this year. At some point, Mike Tomlin's luck on staying coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to run up. He is not retiring as the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mark my words.
I mean, I know that they love him there, and he's had a great run, but yeah, at some point he's gonna have a losing season with them. He
had a losing season last year.
Technically, they were 11-5, but they just lost pretty much the last, out of last 6 games, 5 of them.
I was gonna say When you lose the last 6 straight, you had a losing season.
basically. But I mean, I think even if he does have a losing season this year, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers organizationally they're gonna be patient enough. But is his luck gonna run out eventually? Yeah, they got to move off Dwayne or Ben Roethlisberger at some point. And who's in the waiting in the wings? Dwayne Haskins or
Mason Rudolph.
yeah, God. Good luck. You're replacing a Hall of Famer.
Brendan, I'll get to your comment in a second there because that's going to transition into a whole different conversation. My other name is Pete Carroll.
Oh, that is a tough one. Look, I know him and Russ have, their differences here and there. He's a defensive minded coach, and Russ is obviously their franchise star quarterback. And sometimes at the end of the day, your franchise star quarterback wins out. So, would I
You
be
know who would be a
surprised?
perfect fit as coach in Seattle with Russell Wilson?
Eric Bieniemy?
Nope, not even close. I mean, technically close, but not even close. It's Brian DeBall. He would be perfect.
Yep. I mean, it'll change up the team drastically, but yeah, I mean, I can totally see that. Now, would it be nice for Russ to actually have an offensive, minded coach? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, they got to improve that O-line. He's still taking sacks left and right and having to run for his life.
All right, let's get to Heath's comment first, and then we'll get to Brendan's because this is going to cause a conversation. Heath says, I honestly think Nagy should just give up play calling. Going back to last year, the offense played better after he gave it up. The players in Chicago love Nagy and want to play for him. I think he can't handle play calling and managing the whole team just too much on his plate.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think game management wise, when he's play calling, is not, he's not. It's too much for him, right? He has to figure out what the defense is running, call a play, and then manage the game altogether. We saw a lot of issues with time management, like knowing how much time is on the clock last year. That's issue. Now, if he gives up those responsibilities, can he focus on those more? Probably, or he should be.
Of the non-first year coaches, Matt Nagy is the worst in the league. We don't know what the first year guys really are yet. It's 2 weeks into the preseason. I can't sit there and tell you Sirianni is going to be absolutely trash in Philadelphia. I have no idea. Now let's get to Herrera's comment here. Jake, last year the Vikings were about to blow this up at the trade deadline, but they blew out the Packers to save the year. Zimmer's on the hot seat. All right, first off, we're going to dissect this entire comment because there's a whole lot here. There's a lot to unpack, and I'm going to start right here with NFL teams don't sell everything at the deadline. They would have traded one fucking person. That's it. It may have probably been Adam Thielen because they would have got close, or they would have traded the dude that went to the Giants, Rudolph, because his contract was running up anyway. Other than that, that team was staying intact at the deadline regardless of what happened in that Packers game.
Yeah, they were. Look, NFLs don't blow up at the deadline. This is not Major League Baseball. This is not the NBA, right? You got to ride it out. You have 22 positions you got to fill out, and you don't have rookies or enough talent to throw out there and say, yeah, let's see what these guys got.
Ngakoue was an exception because they traded for him, week 3 or 4? He didn't work out in the system at all, so they just got rid of him right before the trade deadline and sent him to Baltimore because it didn't fucking work to begin with. Brendan always asks the perfect questions to piss me off and really get me going. He's really good at
that. Oh, gosh.
I love it.
All right. Question for you. Who do you think is going to have the most success as a first-year head coach? We got Arthur Smith.
He walked into the best situation.
We have Dan Campbell with Detroit, who
is going to be terrible.
If you haven't seen a Dan Campbell press conference, you need to go watch it.
Hey, watch your patellas, guys. Watch your patellas.
Right. David Culley, Urban Meyer. Brandon Staley,
Oh, I forgot about
and
Staley.
Robert Sala, Nick Sirianni, and let's see. Yeah, those are the first-year head coach. For
I
me
think Sala and
personally,
Staley are going to do the best.
I think Staley does. For me, Staley does the best. He has a pretty good team in LA right now with the Chargers, and they actually spent money. So I think he probably has the most talent. Now, as far as Atlanta, Arthur Smith did inherit the best situation. One, the Saints aren't, we don't know what the Saints are going to look like. Two, you still have key players there. Granted, I know they traded Julio Jones, but Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, I think they can make it work. Now, the big question is, can they close out 4 quarters even with a new coach?
I have to say it's going to be David Culley. Because the Texans, and first off, the Texans signed the most players in any history. They signed everybody.
But they also got rid of they got rid of J.J. Watt. They got rid of a good amount of players, too.
Anybody, hey, you want to still play football, but no other team wants you? Texans will take you. We got you, bro. We got you. $1 million 1 year. We got you, bro. Don't worry about it. But that team is terrible.
Oh no, they. I mean, with everything surrounding it, I think it's from the top down. Really from ownership, it's just a train wreck of an organization. They've won. They've gone to the playoffs, but it's just a train wreck of an organization.
100%. Give me 1 second, because, yeah, all right. Go back to the StreamYard, pull up Brandon's comments. Still talking about the Vikings. By the way, Brandon is a massive Vikings fan, hence why his conversations are usually Viking-sided. Love your honest answer, Jake. Yep, I know. I'm always honest. Yes, this is not baseball. I feel the Vikings would have made a few trades and fired Zimmer last season if not for the Vikings beating the Packers. The only thing they would have done is traded Kyle Rudolph to New England. That is it.
No, I don't think they fired even last year. I don't think they fired Zimmer. They really like Zimmer.
Zimmer's been great.
And with what he's done with the team, he's kept them afloat, honestly. Now, has it been some crazy things that he can't control? Absolutely. But I know the ownership likes Zimmer and the players like Zimmer. So if he has another bad season, I think looking into start of next year, he'll probably be in the hot seat. But I think they give him the benefit of the doubt.
Mike Zimmer's coaching record, and obviously this is all with Minnesota from 2014 to now, so he's been there a while. He's 64, 47, and 1. It's a 576 percentage. That's not bad, guys. And he's 2 and 3 postseason.
He's got him 3 playoffs. He's got him to 2 NFC North championships. He's got him to win the championship twice. So it's not like he's terrible. There's a lot more coaches that are absolutely terrible that still have a job. Matt Nagy.
Zach Taylor, we're looking at you.
And look, so it's not that he's terrible, but at the same time, are they going to eventually move from him if he keeps having losing seasons? Yeah, but that's just the nature.
If you
of
have
the
a
NFL.
winning coach and Tom Brady is still in the league, just keep him until Tom Brady's out of the league. Then you'll see how good your coach is.
Look, here's the thing: Minnesota keeps him and we know Aaron Rodgers is probably leaving the Packers next year. You have an open NFC North.
Because Jordan Love looked atrocious when he played.
Yeah. I mean,
so we have a brand new segment that we're going to debut tonight. Adrian, you want to explain what the segment is?
So we call this All Out Blitz, and these are questions that I've come up with, and Jake does not know what the questions are, and we're just going to throw rapid fire at him, and he's going to I'm going to give him a situation, and I'm going to give him some options, and he's going to tell me who he'd take and why. So
this could be literally anything at all. It could be this player versus this player, this team versus this team, why I would start this player, or like it could be anything. I don't know what these questions are. So hit me. Let's hear the first one.
All right. Out of the first-year receivers drafted this year, who's going to be the most successful between Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, or Jamar Chase?
Jamar Chase is scaring me already. So it's not going to – I have to say it's going to be Tua to Waddle just because I trust Tua and Waddle's relationship more, with the fact that Jamar Chase, I do really like the connection of Burrow to Chase, but Chase he can't get his footing after taking a year off for COVID. And I don't trust anything in Philadelphia at all. No chance.
Yeah. So
I'm going Waddle.
That's okay. Waddle. Well, let's write this down. Take a look at it then of the season. See how we do. Let's see. Out of the second-year quarterbacks from Alabama, or has played in Alabama, meaning Hurts or Tua, who's going to have a better season, statistically and record?
Okay, yeah.
We know the NFC or NFC East is already a train wreck as is.
The problem is, I think that the Eagles are going to trade for Deshaun Watson right before the cutdown day, because there's no way the Texans walk onto the season with Deshaun Watson on the roster. They're not about to cut him.
No,
so I think he becomes an Eagle, which means Tua, by virtue, will have the better season statistically and record-wise.
All right, fair. All right, so let's see. Which is more likely to happen? The Niners winning the NFC or West, or the Chargers making the playoffs?
The Chargers making the playoffs in a heartbeat. Yeah, did you hear that?
So that being said, okay. Who wins the NFC West and why?
I'm going to have to say probably Seattle. But when they lose in the first round of the playoffs, that's when Pete Carroll is the surprise fire.
Right. See, I have to go with the Rams just because they're more of a complete team than Seattle. They actually have a defense. They can protect their quarterback. They have a receiving core. Obviously, the biggest question is how Cam Akers or any of the running Darrell Henderson's going to look. But
Akers is out for the year.
Yeah, Akers. I just realized Akers is out for the year, which thankfully, my fantasy drafts haven't happened because I was going to take him. But it's going to be interesting. And, last question. Who has the worst record? The Detroit Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Given what I've seen this preseason, I'm going to have to say the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because Detroit, while they are a bad team, they at least have a guy at quarterback. And if at this point you don't know what that means, a guy just means you have a guy. You have the guy that can hit, Red Sox notification. I said hit. We're not in baseball. My bad. You have a guy that can throw the ball. You have a guy that can lead the team. Jared Goff can do that. We don't know about Trevor Lawrence, and it's looked really bad for Trevor Lawrence.
So, counterpoint on Jared Goff. Jared Goff looked bad prior to Sean McVay. I want to see him post Sean McVay with all he's learned from Sean McVay of how he looks. That's again the biggest question. He doesn't have the receiving core. He has TJ Hawkinson, and I don't know who the hell the receiving core.
Speaking of Goff, says Goff is reliant on the team around him. He is nothing. He's your basic average quarterback. He's your new Matt Ryan, and the only reason Matt Ryan never actually won a Super Bowl is because he had a terrible coach there. That team should have been in the Super Bowl for 3 straight years.
They had all the pieces.
But you had terrible coaching.
Terrible coaching. terrible time management, terrible fourth quarters.
Yeah,
They got
I fully agree with that.
So awesome. Well, that was first segment of All Out Blitz. I'm interested to see what next week's storylines will be, so I can throw some crazy ones out there.
That was stressful. Let me just start there. That was stressful.
Oh, wait. I do have one more. I just looked at it. Most likely to be fired in the season. No, I'm not throwing Nagy in there because we know he's getting fired.
He's getting shit canned in the middle of the season.
Yep. Vic Fangio or I'm trying to think of the best coach I could throw in there. Zach Taylor. I think Teddy Bridgewater, with the way he's been playing, is going to save Vic Fangio's job. Now, I've heard the players like playing for Zach Taylor. I don't know how much weight that's going to cause if he goes 0-6 to start the season, but
he didn't get Joe Burrow any protection besides Riley Reef. So when Burrow pops his head off again.
Now, is that him or just in an inadequate front office plus him?
Both. It's both.
I mean, that whole organization just needs to cut it down and reshape it.
And build an indoor training facility. They're the only team in the NFL that does not have an indoor training facility.
All right.
It gets cold in Cincinnati, guys.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Heath says, look what happened when he faced the Bears in 2000. Who are we talking about? Goff? When he faced the Bears in 2018, they took away the run game and forced him to throw, and he couldn't. The Lions have been
buoyed by Stafford.
Buoyed by Stafford since he was drafted. Yeah, no, Matthew Stafford is a stud. I absolutely hate talking to people that don't understand how good Matthew Stafford really is. He is one of the most consistently good quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I think now we're going to actually see him shine with the amount of talent he has and actual good coaching in a good organization.
And primetime football. Detroit doesn't get primetime football because they're so bad.
Yeah, I mean, okay, granted, who wants to go to Detroit for a primetime game? Like, just the city of Detroit for a primetime game. Sorry, not shitting on Detroit, but I am shitting on Detroit.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is our second episode. Well, this one went way better than the first one, I'll be honest.
Minus the technical difficulties, but hey.
Hey, you know what? We can't help the interwebs issues, but we can help get us to a level where we are providing good content. And that's where I feel like we're moving in the right direction today.
Look, it's last week of preseason, so we're about to get some storylines, some cuts, unexpected cuts. Should be an interesting show next week.
Absolutely. Saturday. We're still going Saturday. Let's not forget about Saturday. We got 2 shows. We didn't do last Saturday because of, I got ramshacked at work, and he decided to go on date night. It just happened to work out perfectly.
Yeah, that worked. But, hey, I'm excited for this week. And then, of course, I think Tuesday we do a whole season preview, and we start taking bets for, who does what this season.
You heard it here first. Adrian said it. We're taking bets next week on Tuesday for the season previews. And Thursday next week is game 1. I believe it's Thursday next week.
Oh, yeah. Is it Tampa Bay against the Cowboys?
Thursday next week, yeah, September 2nd. It's NFL. I really should know this off the top of my head at this point. I've looked it up 600 times.
I will say that is not Mike McCarthy. That is not the best. The best way to start a season is against the reigning, defending Super Bowl champs at home.
Do they have a week off? The first game is September 9th.
Wait. I think
Yeah,
they might.
they have a built-in week off.
Huh. Oh,
Huh.
it's because they also have 17 games, so probably a good
Yeah.
idea to give them a week off.
Yeah, Martin
So
just
yeah,
said it's in 2 weeks. Yeah.
geez, I didn't realize the date. I'm like, oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
like the following
When
week.
is the NFL giving them a? All right, we're over an hour, guys. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, share, comment. Make sure you tell a friend, be a friend. Make sure you come back because we appreciate all of your comments. We get to literally every single comment that is physically possible for us to get through. If you want to divert us onto some other subject, we will gladly do it because my ADD kicks in like it's nothing. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on Saturday.